Hello guys and girls, how you doing? You alright? Meet Charlie Veitch. He likes to walk around the city of Manchester filming what happens to him along the way. What happens mostly is he gets in arguments with people and then kicks them. He does get up to a lot of other interesting stuff as well, but before we get into that, let's get to know the man as he has quite an unexpected backstory. Interesting. Charles Torres Veitch was born on the 11th of March 1978 in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. His father was Scottish and his mother was Brazilian. His father worked in the oil industry, so his family was fairly well off in terms of money and would travel around for his father's job. When Charlie was young, he lived in Africa, the Middle East and the West Indies. At the age of 13, Charlie was sent to boarding school in Scotland. This was a school for rich people, with one of his classmates getting expelled for stealing his dad's Ferrari. This same classmate would be arrested for importing cocaine in later life apparently. Charlie was bullied in this school as he wasn't as rich as the other kids, but he was gifted at badminton, winning a few trophies for the sport. As he grew older, Charlie attended Edinburgh University, where he would develop passionate left-wing views, being very anti-capitalist and disliking the hierarchical system of the United Kingdom. Given these views, what he did upon leaving university seems a bit odd, but he joined the Territorial Army for a short time with aims of becoming an officer. But he left the army before the final stage, as he felt this was training him to become a robot and he didn't want to go abroad to kill brown people, as he puts it. After leaving the army, he moved to London, where he took a well-paid job in the financial sector. This job was obviously against his anti-capitalist views and Charlie was not happy here, but it wasn't all bad. While living in London, he found an injured pigeon and raised it back to health. Luckily for Charlie, this job wouldn't last too long, as he was fired during the 2008 financial crash. Now jobless and full of hatred for the system, he would embark on a journey that would take him to some unexpected places. Charlie was an early adopter of YouTube, setting up his YouTube channel on the 19th of July 2006. But it wasn't until 2008 that he really started to post content. These were low quality videos where he would harass Scientologists mainly, but as time went by he attended pro-Palestine protests siding with the Palestinians. These protests seemed to have given Charlie a new direction in life. He was now going to be a gonzo journalist, taking his message to the streets armed with nothing more than a megaphone and a camera. He began to make videos named Everything Is Okay, where he would test the boundaries of polite society, and if anyone spoke out against what he was doing, he would just say everything is okay and continue with his actions. He also made videos titled The Love Police, where he would try to hug police officers. These videos relied on absurdism and making the target look unreasonable to prove his political points, pushing what is acceptable while being friendly and smiling. The Love Police gained a lot of attention, and soon Charlie was a reasonably well-known figure among left-wing activists in the UK. At this stage, Charlie was very anti-religion, anti-government, anti-banks, anti-Iraq war, anti-monarchy, and he used his megaphone to voice his views in the streets. Charlie was a self-described anarchist who would travel to protests all over the world. In 2010, he was arrested at the G20 summit in Toronto for impersonating a police officer. This arrest came when he was asked to show his ID by the police, but claimed that he didn't have any, as he was a policeman working undercover. Also in 2010, he attended a protest by socialists at the Conservative Party HQ and posted a video calling for chaos, saying, "The main aim is for the Metropolitan Police to lose control of the city." At this protest, Black Bloc anarchists rioted while Charlie praised their actions. The protesters would smash windows with bricks and hammers, while Charlie would state, "I see any action that makes a statement and does not hurt anyone as political art." He also claims to have joined rioters who stormed a McDonald's in Leicester Square, with them attempting to liberate the burger flippers who worked there. Sounds like that would have been an interesting thing to witness. I'm picturing a bunch of immigrant workers looking confused at their middle-class saviours. Charlie was up to all sorts of shenanigans in this time period, so I'll just list off a few of the more interesting ones, as I want to spend most of this video looking at what he's up to in the present day really. He was interviewed by a British TV station when he claimed to have witnessed the unlawful brutal killing of a man named Ian Tomlinson. Ian was pushed over by the police at a protest and later died from his injuries. Some people have since claimed that Charlie lied about seeing this event, as the details that he gave in the interview didn't match with the video footage of the event, but Charlie claims that he was interviewed and gave evidence for the internal investigation. He was also arrested for conspiracy to cause a public nuisance and aggravated trespass in 2011 when he planned to disrupt the royal wedding. He was living in the affluent city of Cambridge at the time with his reality TV star turned political activist girlfriend named Silky Carlo when the police knocked on his door in what is a very civilised, polite British arrest. Charlie seems to have been very active in counter-protesting the EDL, who are a right-wing British social movement focused on stopping Islamic immigration. Mr. Veitch has had legal action taken against him a few times to have his videos removed from the internet. He has written articles for Vice, appeared on British television many times, and was an active member of the Occupy movement. At its height, the Love Police had 500 activists ready to protest at the drop of a hat. Another unexpected thing I found about his backstory is that Charlie was pretty well known in the conspiracy theory community, mainly the 9/11 truther movement. This part of the story starts with the one and only Alex Jones. Charlie watched the video that Alex made about the attack on the Twin Towers, claiming that it was an inside job, and Charlie found it compelling enough to fall down the rabbit hole. Before long, Charlie was using his megaphone and his YouTube channel to tell the world about this. Charlie's big break in the conspiracy world was when he made a video in which the police manhandled him outside the American embassy. Alex Jones had him on his show to talk about this incident being the work of the police state, and soon Charlie was one of the main figures in the truther movement in the UK. Charlie would appear on the Alex Jones show from time to time talking about the issues of the day. He would have interviews on Russia Today, which is a Russian-sponsored TV network in the West, and Charlie even had a working relationship with David Icke. David and Charlie doing interviews together, and the pair even became pen pals, which sounds sweet. Charlie was flying high and steadfast in his beliefs that the American government were responsible for 9/11, so decided to accept an offer by the BBC to appear on a TV show named 9/11 A Conspiracy Road Trip. On this show, the BBC took 5 truthers from the UK to the US to meet experts that would try to convince them that there was no conspiracy. They took the participants to Ground Zero, then to a flight school to show them how easy it is to fly a plane with no training. Charlie was a big believer in the controlled demolition idea, so they took him to meet a demolitions expert who explained that the buildings fell in the way that he would expect and explained how this all worked. This seems to have been a light bulb moment for Charlie, and as the show goes on, Charlie starts to change his mind more and more until he's arguing with the other participants, trying to convince them that this was not an inside job. After the show, Charlie announced to the world that he was no longer a 9/11 truther, saying, "I think because the government has lied about the weapons of mass destruction in Iraq and hundreds of thousands of innocent civilians have been killed, we do suspect foul play when other terrible events happen, and if the governments can lie and kill 500,000 people, why wouldn't they lie about killing 3,000? It doesn't take an incredible leap of fantasy or faith or gullibility. We're not gullible, we're just truth seekers. And the 9/11 truth movement is trying to find out the truth about what happened. But you should not hold on to religious dogma. If you're presented with new evidence, take it on, even if it contradicts what you or your group might be believing or want to believe. You have to give the truth the greatest respect, and I do." As you might expect, this change of heart didn't go down too well with his conspiracy friends. Alex Jones declared that he always knew that Veitch was a double agent and claimed that Charlie had psychopath eyes. His sweet little pen pal David Icke started an online campaign to discredit Charlie and released the pair's messages. Some people claimed that he was being mind-controlled by the government, some said that he was paid by the BBC, or that he was a one-man sleeper cell working for the CIA to discredit the movement. My personal favourite is that he had been hypnotised by Darren Brown. It wasn't all fun and games though. Charlie started to get threatening phone calls and emails, with one man being arrested by Manchester police for sending some of these threats. A YouTube channel named Kill Charlie Veitch was set up and his website was hacked. On his birthday, the hackers sent an an email to all of his 15,000 followers pretending to be Charlie, confessing to being a pedo. Charlie has this to say about this time period. By finding conspiracy theories, it was almost like I'd found religion. I've always been an outsider, a lone wolf. I wanted someone to accept me. I was emotionally needing a group. Charlie moved to Manchester, where his content would take an unusual turn. He began to walk around the city centre filming the things that he saw along the way. The good, the bad and the ugly, all were fair game to this humble photon collector. Smash hits such as Rasta vs Islam, where a Rasta debates a Muslim, began to show up on his channel. Charlie would also film the drug addicts and homeless that frequent the area of the city known as Piccadilly Gardens. This is where his channel would gain most of its notoriety, allowing people to see the inner city decay from the safety of their own homes. But before we get into this stage of his life, let's meet some of the main characters that appear on his channel. Crutchy, real name Tony, first appeared on the channel when he had a heart attack in Piccadilly Gardens. Tony died for a short time but was thankfully brought back to life. Tony and Charlie have had a very turbulent relationship. The name Crutchy comes from the time that Tony hit Charlie over the head with a crutch in the middle of Manchester city centre. Charlie then hit Tony back and took the crutch, to which he was mobbed by Tony's friends. Much name calling and threatening then followed until the police turned up. The pair would have run-ins with each other from time to time, with Crutchy expressing his anger through the medium of handstands. Everyone needs an outlet, I guess. After much back and forth over the years, the pair actually became friends of a sort, with Charlie appearing to be genuinely sad when he got word that Tony had died. After about a year, the ghost of Tony floated into Piccadilly Gardens and let Charlie know that he had in fact been to prison for hitting someone. Or at least I think that's what he said. He is pretty difficult to understand, to be honest. The pair now greet each other warmly and seemingly get along fine. Scary Man has made a few appearances over the years. His main characteristic is walking around acting strangely. Scary Man's debut on the channel was his most memorable moment. While on the prowl, Charlie saw him bump into a woman, so decided to follow him. While tracking the man, he saw him act in an aggressive manner towards random women in the street, running up to them, giving them a fake push and pretending to punch them in order to make them flinch seems to be some of his favourite pranks. What a little rascal. He would also walk up to men and act in a weird manner, but no pretending to punch or anything like that. After tracking him for a short time, the man crossed the tram line and began to pretend punch women again. But then he spotted his true prey. He moved in for the kill, but at the exact wrong moment, a tram comes along and blocks the view. Charlie was understandably concerned by this, so rushed to help, but the tram just kept going and going and going until it revealed nothing. Scary Man and the woman were nowhere to be seen. Then, as if it was a jump scare in a horror movie, Scary Man appeared right next to the camera, brushing past Charlie, who then confronted the man. Charlie asked him why he was bullying women on the street, to which the man replied that he was just joking. Upon hearing the man's weak and feeble voice, it becomes clear to the viewer that Scary Man is in fact not scary, and then you begin to feel embarrassed and ashamed that this man just gave you a jump scare moments before. If this man can make you jump, what does that make you? You begin to ask yourself. Questioning your own self-worth as a man, it starts to finally make sense why your wife left you for Tyrone. He wouldn't be scared. He's a real man. I bet his foreskin isn't bigger than his shaft. She said it was normal, but I know better. She's nothing but a dirty liar, is what the viewer is probably saying to himself. Anyway, Scary Man then runs away, which in turn encourages Charlie and others to give chase. Well, not really, I guess. Scary Man just runs into a shop and then is brought out by a security guard. It then becomes truly clear how pathetic and lost this guy really is, and if this guy can give you a jump scare, what does that make me? No wonder Tyrone got the house. The gang then get the man to hand over his ID, and the security guard says that he saw the man acting the same way a few days before. The guy then just stands there, seemingly knowing that what he did was wrong, and waits for the police to show up and arrest him. The whole thing is just very odd. Music Man is a mystery wrapped in an enigma. Where is he going? Where did he come from? I can't answer these questions. All I know is that sometimes he's on a bike and sometimes he's on a scooter, but every time he's playing music from a bag.
Music man, music man.
Mark B. TV is Charlie's nemesis. He really hates Charlie. I've been unable to work out why he hates him so much, but he does, and I guess that's all we need to know. Mark follows Charlie around, filming him and shouting insults at him. Catchy little slogans such as "always the victim," claiming that Charlie plays the victim a lot. Mark also likes to mock Charlie for his girlfriend leaving him. On a side note, it's fairly common for Charlie to be mocked about his girlfriend. This is his 22-year-old girlfriend, and people like to mock him because she is younger than him. Reminding the man that he has a young, attractive girlfriend doesn't seem like the best insult I've ever heard, to be honest. Sadly, Charlie and this lady split up, and then people like to mock him for this instead. Anyway, Mark follows him around, teasing Charlie for no longer having a girlfriend. Charlie and Mark have come to blows a few times now. Well, I say they've come to blows. It's more like Charlie has kicked him and slapped him a few times. Then Mark has said that if he does that one more time, something bad will happen. Then Charlie does it again and nothing bad happens. I feel like I'm missing context as to why there's so much bad blood between them, but I've been unable to find anything really. There are many other people in this story, like Blue, the friendly homeless guy who tries to help Charlie when he is being attacked. He seems like a good-hearted guy. Then you have Longhair, who really hates Charlie and tries to attack him on sight. Charlie being disliked is a pretty common theme you'll see as we go on. So we've met some of the other people, let's get on with the story. Charlie, as you may have guessed, gets into conflicts with people a lot. Teenagers in the street, builders on construction sites, drunk people, homeless people, you name it, Charlie has had some kind of argument with it. Not all of the conflicts that he gets into are unjustified though. One time he approached a man that had been walking around the city centre taking photographs of young women. Charlie asked the man why he was doing this, and after a bit of talking, the man ran off in a surprisingly brisk pedo jog. Another time he confronted people dressed in uniform who were walking around fining people for dropping cigarette butts. He then explained that these people are not police officers, and if the young man just picks up the cigarette butts, then they won't fine him. After the young man picked up the cigarette butts and walked away, Charlie then spent 5 minutes berating the group until they walked away. Charlie is part of an unusual YouTube genre I didn't know existed until I made this video. The auditors. These are people that go around and film the police or the outside of buildings, and if anyone questions them, they quote the law at whoever questioned them, saying that it is their right to do this. It seems like these people see themselves as some kind of freedom fighters standing up to authority. I have mixed feelings about them, as they seem to make trouble for no reason, which I don't like, but also being English, we have a rich tradition of the police and guards being nothing more than normal citizens who keep the peace, which is why our police don't have guns. So I like that these people keep that in check, and that these people with authority don't think that they are higher than they are. Anyway, Charlie is on the extreme end of these auditors and is always getting into arguments with security guards. He loves to get in arguments with them and then quote the law, and honestly they never seem to know what he's talking about, so maybe it's a good thing that he's reminding them. Make your own mind up what you think about all this, I guess. He only really does this to security guards though, and gives the police a free pass most of the time. We'll explore this a little later on, as he has a weird relationship with Manchester police. Charlie doesn't just audit security guards, sadly. He also does this to members of the public who don't really enjoy being audited. Luckily, Mr. Veitch has a trademark move to defend himself: the front kick. He also enjoys a good slap to the face. Honestly, I could make an hour-long compilation of all the kicks and slaps that Charlie has done. Everyone needs a hobby, I guess. Since Charlie has moved to the city, the people of Manchester are probably the most kicked people on the planet. The general pattern this seems to follow is someone approaching Charlie with insults, then him saying stay back, but they don't. Then he kicks them over, and they say that if he does that again, something bad will happen. But I mean, he just kicked you. Why do you need him to do it again before you do something about it? Then they walk away with their towels between their legs. Charlie isn't always the victor in these altercations though. He has taken a metal chain with a padlock attached to the end to the head, had his fingers broken when someone threw a stone at him, and he was attacked by a gang of youths who punched him repeatedly after chasing him into a shopping centre. Charlie seems to be a very divisive person in Manchester, with many people coming up to him and giving him hugs, speaking kind words, and others, well, we've already seen what they think of him. But there is one group in particular in Manchester that really doesn't get on with Charlie. The term cottaging is in the Oxford Dictionary apparently, so I'll just read their description. The action of engaging in homosexual acts in a public toilet. This part of the story doesn't take place in a public toilet, but an underpass that Charlie has coined Cottager's Cove. He goes to this place fairly often in order to catch men in the act, or chase them away and stop them doing it, I guess. He gets a mixed response from the men he encounters. Most just cover their face and rush away in shame, but others are a little more aggressive. Some accuse Charlie of being there because he's in the closet, claiming that he wants to film men doing lewd acts. Sometimes these men try to chase Charlie out of the cove. I think my favourite time this happened was when an Anthony Hopkins lookalike confronted Mr. Veitch. Of course, Charlie let loose a few front kicks. I think this is just the way he communicates. Some people offer a handshake when they meet a new person, while Charlie offers a front kick to the solar plexus. I guess that comes from his Scottish side. Anyway, Mr. Hopkins then gets very angry and starts to randomly clap. I don't know why. Another weird one was the time that one of the men at Cottager's Cove called the police on Charlie. Bear in mind that this is a public place and what these men are doing is illegal, so it's a bold move to get the police involved. So Charlie walked upon the cove to find some men doing what they do, and after some harsh words the men left, with Charlie following them a short way, continuing to berate them. Then another man showed up and claimed that Charlie was doing a hate crime, so he called the police. The man then followed Charlie around Manchester for a long time, all while on the phone to the police, with a bit of pushing and shoving mixed in. Sadly, no front kicks this time. After an awkward journey around Manchester, the pair found a policeman who was presented with this odd situation. As far as I know, Charlie didn't get arrested for this. Charlie has also gone to the cove with a black light that sees bodily fluids. Look away now if you don't want to see what he found. I'll describe it for you. It looks like a glow-in-the-dark Jackson Pollock painting. You can look again now. Some other bits and bobs about the cove are that 2 men were stabbed in a feud between North African gangs, apparently. Not the kind of place that I'd like to have an open wound at, and not the most noble place for your life to come to an end. Charlie has also said that the cove has been shut down, with members of the public not being allowed to use the underpass. Charlie claims that this was in main part due to his videos shining a light on what was going on. Mr. Veitch doesn't just film in Manchester, he sometimes travels around Britain seeing what mischief he can get up to. While in Burnley, he insulted NHS workers who didn't like him filming, then he went to the high street and got into a fist fight with some of the locals. Charlie claims that he was punched a few times, but when the police arrived, it was Charlie that was detained under a public order offence. When he went to Hull, he walked around the sleepy city, started being rude to security guards, then walked into a library and got into an argument with some people reading books, calling one of the readers a little twat. In the city of Leeds, he got into a disagreement with a group of random strangers. Firstly, a man walking along with his baby in a pram, then a young local man who acted to defend the pram man, then an old American lady, all in the space of about 10 seconds. While in Glasgow, he walked around for a while, then visited a homeless charity who were giving out food, where he had an argument with one of the charity workers. He then walked off and got into an argument with a local lady who he called a little gremlin. In the posh area of Didsbury, he walked into a gated community and ended up talking to a man in a Porsche. The man was asking why Charlie was there, so Charlie called him a dick and walked off. Just for some context, I've been to a lot of these places and never had any problems. Back in Manchester, a man had climbed up a multi-storey car park and was threatening to jump off, so Charlie thought it was a good idea to film him and make jokes. This video is titled "White Men Can't Jump." Unsurprisingly, the watching crowd turned on Charlie, with them accusing him of being callous and uncaring. Thankfully, the man didn't jump. As you can no doubt see, Charlie is no stranger to controversy. One of the most distasteful things he has done, for me at least, was the time that he made a video walking around a frozen lake days after 4 young boys had died when they fell through the ice while feeding ducks. This tragedy was big news in Britain at the time, so to make this video at this time seems weird to me. In this video, a man asked Charlie to come off the ice, with Charlie claiming that the man is a bossy NPC. Charlie also got his channel banned from YouTube for a short time for a video in which he had a fight with a homeless person. His channel wasn't banned for the fight, but for stalking and bullying homeless people. Charlie appealed this, and the decision was overturned. One of the better known plot points in the Charlie Veitch story is the time that he went to Carham Hall. This is a big stately home owned by a wealthy aristocracy. Charlie was filming the home when a lady turns up and starts to question why he was there and what he was doing. Charlie, being his normal diplomatic self, didn't take too kindly to this, asking the woman to show him the deeds to the property to prove that she owns it. The woman then calls the police, to which Charlie agrees to leave, but sadly while driving out of the property, Charlie finds that he has had his exit blocked by the lady's truck. Charlie then starts to panic, which is something you don't see too often. Being in the middle of nowhere, I guess he had images of deliverance running through his mind. Charlie then pleads for them to let him go, but the woman and her husband ignore him, instead deciding that now was a good time to clean their shotguns. Charlie then calls his 77-year-old father for help, who turns up, then the police arrive and Charlie is allowed to leave. On the opposite side of life in Britain, Charlie was walking in Manchester one day when he saw an abandoned pub. While looking at the door of this pub, he heard a strange voice calling out to him, so he pushed the door to find a woman on the other side. This lady was named Rachel and she invited him in, so Charlie entered. This pleasant but unstable woman then shows Charlie around the abandoned pub, claiming that her and some others live here. Charlie soon realises that this may not have been his best idea and tries to make his excuses to leave, but the woman keeps showing him random stuff like photos, books and Scrabble tiles. She then informs him that there is an upstairs, so the pair set off on a voyage to explore the unknown lands of the upstairs. After a perilous climb with many trials and tribulations, the pair find the exotic land of upstairs, which is mostly just rubbish, lots of rubbish and pigeon poo. Charlie recovers a photo of the Egyptian pyramids to give to Rachel as an offering for her hospitality. He then leaves as he was worried that her housemates may be back soon and they could be less friendly than Rachel. I think that Charlie Veitch is probably the most divisive character that I've ever made a video about. Some people online and in real life really hate him, while others really like him. Personally, I think that he's a bit of a dick, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. I think that people overvalue being nice these days, and a lot of the time, niceness is cowardice masquerading as virtue. Personally, I don't try to be nice, I try to be fair. So make your own mind up if you think that Charlie Veitch is fair or not. Over the years, Charlie has annoyed pretty much every political and religious group, so he is sure to have made lots of enemies. One weird thing I noticed while making this video is his relationship with Manchester police. They seem to take his side in everything and he gets arrested less than you would expect. Plus he never seems to do bad audits on Manchester police. But like with the time in Burnley, he does get arrested and do bad audits for police when he's outside of Manchester. His ex-girlfriend, who he has kids with, has stated that Charlie was arrested for abusing her and that Manchester police covered up evidence for him. Obviously I have no idea if this particular case is true or not, but it does seem like there's something weird going on with him and the Manchester police. Charlie's changes over the years have also been pretty interesting. He has gone from an atheist far-left anarchist who actively filmed and supported pro-Palestine protesters to now being a Christian right-winger who films Palestine protests in support of Israel. At the start of making this video, I was fully on side with the people complaining about Charlie filming them. I find the modern day need to film and photograph everything very annoying, and someone filming you is an invasion of your privacy. But when I actually thought about it, we have cameras watching us all the time, and the people in Manchester who complain about Charlie filming them have many CCTV cameras pointing at them, not to mention all the cameras in shops tracking their every move. So if everyone is okay with this, what difference does it make if one extra camera is filming you? I probably trust a citizen more than I do the governments or corporations. The internet tells me that Britain is the 4th most surveilled country in the world, so I'd say that we have forfeit our right to be outraged by someone filming us because of our apathetic attitude to governments and corporations stealing our image on a daily basis. For me at least, the most interesting part of Charlie's YouTube channel is the documented slow decay of a once great nation, an island only staying afloat because of the greatness of our ancestors, their sacrifices and foresight echoing throughout time, allowing a now demoralized and lost people to still exist, with the only worthy thing about us being the reverberations of their glory in our bones. Hopefully one day we will regain the things that made us great, but I won't be holding my breath. Charlie is still making videos to this day, so I'm sure that many more adventures await us in the years to come. and many more front kicks. Thanks for watching. Why not watch this video about Charlie's once friend David Icke? He was a psychic. I didn't know that before making this video. Did you know that? A big thanks to the channel members and Patreons. If you were homeless in Manchester, I'd kick you. And bye-bye.
What?